Yat sanidabham bhutkandavam agnayedam idram cha samara ganam tarasa vidyatya labda sabda maya krita buddha silpa maya. Balim presentations. Adware brought te yo. Translation: because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Kandava forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Kandava forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architecture workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yagya and pay you tributes. Please repeat: because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Kandava forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Kandava forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architecture workmanship, where all the princesses assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yagya and pay you tributes. Purport: the demon Maya Danava was an inhabitant of the forest Kandava, and when the Kandava forest was set on fire, he asked protection from Arjuna. Arjuna saved his life, and as a result of this, the demon felt obliged. He reciprocated by building a wonderful assembly house for the Pandavas, which attracted the extraordinary attention of all state princesses. They felt the supernatural power of the Pandavas, and thus, without grudge, all of them admitted and paid tribute to the emperor. The demons possess wonderful and supernatural powers to create material wonders, but they are always disturbing elements of the society. The modern demons are the harmful material scientists who create some material wonders for disturbance of the society. For example, the creation of nuclear weapons has caused some panic in human society. Maya was also a materialist like that, and he knew the art of creating such wonderful things. And yet Lord Krishna wanted to kill him. When he was chased both by the fire and by the will of Lord Krishna, he took shelter of such a devotee as Arjuna, who saved him from the wrath of the fire of Lord Shri Krishna. Devotees are therefore more merciful than the Lord, and in devotional service the mercy of the devotee is more valuable than the mercy of the Lord. Both the fire and the Lord ceased from chasing the demon as soon as both of them saw that the demon was given shelter by such a devotee as Arjuna. This demon, feeling obliged to Arjuna, wanted to do him some service to show his gratefulness, but Arjuna declined to accept anything from him in exchange. Lord Shri Krishna, however, being pleased with Maya for his taking shelter of a devotee, asked him to render service unto King Yudhishthira by building a wonderful assembly house. The process is that by the grace of a devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained. And by the mercy of the Lord, a chance to serve the Lord's devotee is obtained. The club of Bhimashen was also a gift of Maya Danava. So there's 4 Vedas, and one of the main Vedas, which is acclaimed by all the scholars, is the Rig Veda. In that Rig Veda, Lord Indra is glorified extensively. And the reason why he's glorified extensively because he killed Vritasura. And other parts of the Rig Veda, Indra Dev is glorified many ways, because Indra is like is very good to humans. He gives them rain, he gives them sunshine, he gives them all the necessities of life. Therefore, Indra is the most glorified in the Rig Veda. Nonetheless, when you read the Bhagavatam, you find a slightly different story. So a lot of scholars base all their conclusions about the supremacy of God on the Rig Veda. But actually, when you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is part of the Puranas, and it is the Mahapurana, you'll find that Indra is quite the opposite. Actually, almost you could say that Indra is made fun of in the Bhagavatam. And you will find that in the works of Sanatana Goswami, such as the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Narad Muni is trying to find out who is the best devotee, at one point he gets to Indra, and Indra starts, it's quite funny actually, because Indra starts to tell his stories of interactions in the material world. And the way he says his stories is basically, Krishna makes a fool of me. Because at some point, Krishna says, first of all the offerings that the inhabitants of Braj is supposed to give to Indra, and so Krishna comes and says, "Oh, forget him, just give to Govardhana." And then he has an interaction with Vamanadev as well, his brother. So Indra is the son of Kashyapa and Aditi, and Kashyapa and Aditi, they worship Vishnu extensively in the previous lives. Sorry. And they continued also in the next life. And Indra says that because of that, Indra is the king of heaven, but because he has Kashyapa and Aditi as parents, so he says, because of that, Krishna accepts my worship. And then when he has something with Vamanadev, he says to Vamanadev, well, actually, if you want to please me, you just stay with me, and I'll worship you. But Vamanadev doesn't stay there. And then at one point, Narad Muni asked him, why don't you just go to Krishna? He says, because I can't find him. And Indra, I find it very bewildering that Krishna is always stuck on this planet Earth. He said, Krishna always goes to planet Earth. He goes to Braj, and then he goes to Mathura, and then he moves to Dwarka. Then from Dwarka, he moves to Mithila. He goes to so many different places. And Indra can't work it out. I said, why is so much to this planet? And in this particular pastime, it's very interesting because Agni was a good friend of Krishna's, and actually Agni gave him the Sudarshan chakra. So at one point, Arjuna and Krishna, they decided to go for a stroll as friends near the Jamuna, and they were strolling along, and they sat down on this bench, Arbori bench, and they saw this figure, this Brahmana coming out of the bush. And this Brahmana was very effulgent with kind of yellow beard, and really effulgent. And immediately they stood up, because then it's a Brahmana, so respect for the Brahmanas. And what can we do for you? And the Brahmana says, I'm hungry, you have to give me my food. Anyway, it's a long conversation, but he just basically tells me, give me my food. And Krishna says, what's your food? And he says, well, my food, actually I feel a little ill because I've been eating too much ghee, and I need some herbs. And actually, when he introduces himself, that Brahmana is actually Agni, the fire god. But because they did some huge sacrifice, so when they do sacrifice, they feed ghee, and Agni got a little ill. You know what happens? You're supposed to eat 3 or 4 teaspoons of ghee every day, according to Ayurveda. It does all your joints nicely, but when you eat bucket loads of it, and in those days they used to pour ghee by the ton. So he went to Brahma, and Brahma said, actually, when your illness is easy, you just go and eat some herbs, and they're in the Kandava forest. But the way Agni eats is by fire. So he said, you give me my food, but he said, why don't you just take it? Krishna said, why don't you just take it? And he said, well, I can't, because Indra is there, and every time I come to take it, Indra just pours this water on the forest, and I can't get it. So Arjuna says, well, okay, we'll get it, but he said, there's one problem only, is that I've got this, fantastic weapons. I've got the mantras and everything, but I don't have a quiver, I don't have a good chariot, I don't have good horses, and I don't have a good bow. So Agni says, that's okay. So he called Varuna, and he said to Varuna, give him all this. So Varuna grabs the chariots from the sun god, from Soma, and he gives it to Arjuna. And then Arjuna gets equipped. He gives him the Gandiva bow, he gives him the quiver, which is unlimited quiver. And he gives him so many things like that. And this is how Arjuna gets, he gives him the celestial armor as well. And this is how Arjuna gets equipped for actually the Kurukshetra war. This is well set up by Krishna. Krishna is very cunning sometimes also. He, you know what he does, like for example, he kind of likes Indra, but at the same time he has a bit of a play with him. So what Krishna says to Indra, he says, you gotta worship me. But Indra says, but you're never around to worship. You're always here and there, like I said before. So Krishna says, oh, it's okay. In my absence, you can worship Brahma and Shiva. No problem. He said, look, it says in the scriptures that you should worship Brahma and Shiva because Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu were all the same. So Krishna has this kind of sense of humor. So and being as Vamanadev, then he has to follow that. And the fact is that because Indra is in awe and reverence, so he has to follow Krishna's. Although he knows Krishna is cunning about it, he should just worship Krishna because Krishna himself in Govardhana Hill said, you just give it to Govardhan, which is no different than me. But he says, oh, you just give it to Brahma and Shiva, it's okay. And therefore, this is why in the heavenly planets sometimes you have big, huge worship of Shiva in the heavenly planets. But it's not because Shiva is the supreme. It's because of Krishna's cunning sense of humor. But he says it's okay. He says to Indra, don't worry about it, just worship Shiva. Krishna is very detached and he has a good sense of humor, so you've got to be careful about what he says. Because he'll quote the scriptures, but he'll try, like he cheated the gopis as well. He says to the gopis, well, what are you doing in the dark of the forest with a brahmachari? I'm a brahmachari, you're not supposed to be with girls. What's the problem? What's wrong with you? Should go back home. And the gopis were very disturbed by that. And he quoted scriptures as well. So he's like that. So in that case here, Krishna arranges everything and Arjuna gets all his weapons, but he's getting ready for Kurukshetra war. So he gets all that. And then Arjuna says, don't worry, I'll defeat Indra. And now remember that Arjuna is actually Indra's son. He's Pandu's son, but actually he came from Indra. So because Arjuna is with Krishna, he says, oh, he's a bit like Prahlad, he says, oh, don't worry, I'll just wipe my father out, it's okay. Because he's with Krishna. So he feels very empowered. And Indra is very powerful, as stated in the Rig Veda. He can, actually, Indra has called Vraja, which is a thunderbolt that can cut mountains. And he can, basically with that thunderbolt, he can do anything. He actually fought Vritasura and hit him with the thunderbolt. And eventually cut his head. Vritasura was pretty much invincible, but he cut his head. It took a while, but he cut his head with the thunderbolt. Also, Garuda got hit with the thunderbolt. And Garuda is very much invincible, but his wing got clipped because of the thunderbolt. So Indra is very powerful, but Arjuna said, that's okay, I'll kill him. I'll deal with him. So he says to Agni, go eat the forest. So Agni went and started eating. But the reason why Indra didn't want the forest to be burnt is because in there was Maya Danava. And Maya Danava is like the great architect of the demons. So there were and Brahma told Agni, just go ahead and eat it because there's so many unwanted creatures in there. There's serpents, there's nagas, there's adityas, all sorts of stuff. So just get rid of them. So he said, burn the whole forest down. And at the same time, you eat the herbs and the medicinal herbs. They can cure you. Actually, even nowadays, there's still some yogis in the Himalayas where they can take you for 6 months. They put you in a cave. And they get those special herbs. They rub it on you and you can actually rejuvenate by 20, 25 years. They can grow your teeth as well. They can do everything. Your skin, everything comes back like if you're 15, 20 years old. But you have to stay 6 months with them in a cave without seeing the sunlight. It's quite austere, because you can see I haven't done it. They can make your hair go black and everything. So Krishna has all the herbs and the plants ready to go as for the human beings. So therefore Brahma told Agni, just go and eat that, you'll be okay. So Agni starts that, and then when Indra sees that, he says, kill them. He gets all the other demigods, and he says, talking about Arjuna and Krishna, and he says, kill them, go for them. So they go, they all, like Jamaraj goes, Varuna, they all go after him, after Krishna and Arjuna. And then at that point, Arjuna pulls out his weapons, and Krishna stands there kind of smiling. So Indra really goes for it. I mean, he gives huge amount of rain, then he gives, at one point he cut a peak of a mountain, and he hurled it at Arjuna, and Arjuna split it with his arrows, so that he became dust. It also, when he poured this rain on him, Arjuna sent those arrows, they created like umbrellas and it couldn't rain anymore. And he also, at one point he created a shower of boulders. And also Arjuna pulverized it. So then Agni kept eating, and of course Mayadanava came out running. But Mayadanava was very intelligent because he's an architect, demon architect. So he came out running at the forest. And immediately he knew, because Krishna didn't like him. Krishna wanted to kill him. Krishna doesn't like demons. Although he says that he's equal to all, but he doesn't like the demons. He doesn't mind killing them. This is why when Jaga and Madai attacked Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya immediately wanted to kill him. No, he just called his Sudarshan and said, "I'll just kill him." But in this day and age, he can't do that because we'll all be dead. So therefore, Maya was very intelligent, and immediately what he did, he took shelter of Arjuna. He's very clever, because he knows if you take shelter of a devotee, then Krishna just doesn't do anything, just like Jaga and Madai. Actually, it was Madai that told Jaga, "Hey, don't do that." And he said, Nityananda is a great devotee. And then by that interaction, they got saved. So he took shelter of Arjuna, and because he took shelter of Arjuna, Arjuna said, the Kshatriyas are like that, you take shelter of them, they protect you. So he said, okay, you can be saved. And then immediately Maya asked Arjuna, okay, what do you want? No, I can give you anything you want. Ask me for something. But Arjuna said, no. Because Kshatriya and Brahmanas, they're not Shudras. Shudras, they work for something. They do something and then they want something in exchange. But Kshatriyas, Brahmanas never do that. They do out of duty only. And they'll never expect anything. That's why Prabhupada in one lecture is very interesting. He says nowadays big qualification. People go to university and get big qualification, they get a diploma. And then they go out and they say, no, I'm a good dog. You give me a job. Please give me a job. So they go begging. With these qualifications, they go begging. He says, this is why in Kali Yuga everyone is called Kala Shudra Sambhava. Everyone is a Shudra because the main thing is to try and get a job, no independent. He said, a Brahmana would rather die in the gutter out of hunger than go and ask for a job or get some money from someone else. So Arjuna being like that, he will never accept anything from Maya. Mayadanava, of course, is the architect of the demons, he can create anything. But he will not ask him anything in return. He says, no, did out of my duty. So Maya was feeling a little But Arjuna was very smart also. He said, well, hang on, you want to give something? Because Arjuna is a devotee, so what does he want to do all the time? What's his main business? Yeah, he wants to please Krishna. So he says to Maya, hey, you go and ask Krishna. So he will say, ask Krishna if he wants something. So then he puts him out of his, because he's dutiful as a Kshatriya, he doesn't want to take anything. He doesn't want to become a Shudra. I say, okay, so you do, then ask Krishna at the same time, you can please Krishna. So Maya asked Krishna, and Krishna smiled and said, okay then, you can build the hole for the Pandavas, for Yudhishthira, because Krishna loves his devotees as well, so he wants, Maya takes shelter of Arjuna. Arjuna wants to please Krishna, so he passes the relay to Krishna. He says, okay, you ask Arjuna. Krishna says, Okay, Krishna likes his devotees. So he said, no, you please Yudhishthira. Because he said, then you can build the assembly hall for Yudhishthira. He tells Maya, you please that. So he goes around like this. And this is what goes on all the time in the spiritual world. You try and please Krishna. Unfortunately, in the material world, we try always to please ourselves. It's such a waste of time, such a waste of time. Because you can never please your senses, you can never please, because senses are never satisfied. But if you try and please Krishna, then you enter into that circular, very interesting, that Krishna, you want to please Krishna? Krishna wants to please the devotees. And the devotees want to please Krishna. And then he goes on like this is the whole spiritual world. Whereas in the material world, everyone wants to please myself. I want to do myself first. When you ask people for a donation in the street, the first thing they tell you is, I need a donation. That's what people tell you. When you distribute books, or ask for donations, the first thing they tell you is, I need a donation. So they always think, me, myself first. But you can see the synergy here is very different. So then they build, Maya went and built the assembly hall for the Pandavas. And interestingly, Krishna had it all planned, because in that assembly hall it was so well built, so beautiful, that there was an element of water in it, because in different Vastu and everything, they do all different things with water and everything. Anyway, he put a nice element of water, and guess what happened in that water? You remember? Yeah, Duryodhana, the pride of Duryodhana was so proud, and he wanted to, come and impress the Pandavas with his learning or whatever. So they invited him into the hall, and then Mayadanava designed the water in such a way that you thought it was the floor. So Duryodhana just walked up with all his pride, when you're puffed up and you trip over, it kind of looks funny, right? So he walked and he thought he was the thing, and he just walked straight into the water. But all the princesses that were there started laughing. And Krishna says, don't laugh, because he knew, he said, don't laugh. But he had all that engineered. So you can see right from that story, Krishna has got everything intertwined. You just have to get into the club. If you see it from a far perspective, you say, what the hell's going on? Indra is attacking Krishna, Yamaraj is attacking Krishna. Don't they understand who he is? And then at the end, the funny thing is that when all the demigods attacked Arjuna and Krishna, when they got defeated by Arjuna, what did Indra say? Indra smiled and he said, that boy is great. And they went back home. See, it's not a revenge or something like, are we going to get those guys? What, are we going to go as terrorists and then blow the bus up? I guess they didn't have buses in those days. But they don't think like that. They think, oh, he's great. And Krishna also did that to enhance the glory of Arjuna. So here we go again, that kind of exchange between Krishna and his devotees. So the Yudhishthira, Duryodhana falls into everybody laughs. Krishna held that in back. But in this point here, the main point Prabhupada makes is that, in this purport, is that although Krishna didn't like the Maya demon, he wanted to kill him. But because Maya took shelter of a devotee immediately, so therefore, if we want to know God, if we want to know Krishna, we can't really serve him. When we think we're serving Krishna here, doing this and that, Krishna creates universes just through his breathing by an expansion of an expansion. So it's like a child going to his father and utilizing whatever he's got in his house or his own money and giving him a gift for his birthday. Well, So what does the father appreciate in the child? He appreciates the exchange. He appreciates the endeavor, but he doesn't really appreciate that, he probably took his lawnmower or something and, give it to his own with his own money and his own goods, give it to his dad. Doesn't really appreciate that. So Krishna creates all universes. So we can't impress him with any intellectual faculties, even sadhana or chanting or reading or whatever we can do ourselves. But we can impress him by the exchange. Now the exchange is actually when he comes from his devotees. So therefore, as Maya ran to Arjuna, then we were supposed to get killed by Krishna also. And but we ran to Prabhupada's feet. And Prabhupada said, okay, now he's with us, let it be. So this is how we basically get, to use the Christian terminology, we get saved. Not just by believing, But actually by serving Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada has a mission, a specific mission, and that mission comes from Srimati Radharani directly, is to reconnect the souls with Krishna. So Prabhupada had that mission, Prabhupada worked it out, Prabhupada worked out the system. All we need to do is actually to connect to Prabhupada, to render some service to help Prabhupada to do that. And like Maya Danava is very intelligent, is running to Arjuna, we should do the same. Run to Prabhupada. Prabhupada's already got a program going, he's already got a mission going. And if we do that simply, that's how we get, because otherwise, that's how we get Krishna's mercy. But otherwise, just to serve Krishna directly, that's kind of that's an illusion, really. It's like in ISKCON nowadays, there's a lot of discussion about the guru, you know, well, a lot of discussion about the woman guru, and then before it was discussion about the quality of the guru. The quality guru has to be like this, has to be like that. But actually, when you understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, it's not about the guru itself, in a sense that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the one who reformed the principle of the guru and changed it in a way that previously the guru will give you a mantra and you have a deity and you recite that secret mantra after learning the mantra shastra, and when you recite that perfectly, you actually achieve perfection, some kind of perfection. So that guru was particularly, that's the guru that gave Diksha. But now in ISKCON, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you can achieve perfection, simply that. But the guru is there because you need that person to serve. You need that person to act on behalf of Krishna. And to get Krishna's favor, you get it through his devotees, and that's how the guru is there. Not to give us the perfection of the mantra, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already given the mantra to everyone already for free. So Sanatana Goswami explains that clearly in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But the principle is there that we need to please that person who is connected directly to Krishna. And this is what Maya Danava did. Okay, thank you very much. This is 10 past 8. Yes, Prabhu?
Etc. that Arjuna achieved all, the amazing feats because Krishna actually empowered him to do that.
Oh yeah.
And then at the end of the battle, that ability was withdrawn.
Yes.
So could we assume also that everybody else that he was fighting on the battlefield was similarly empowered?
Well, they all died.
No, we're similarly empowered. Like the Maharathis are able to fight 10,000 warriors, etc., etc. So I'm just thinking if the others had that natural ability and weren't actually empowered.
What do you mean the others? You mean which others?
Like who were fighting on the Kaurava side.
They're all dead.
Well, during the battle, Arjuna was empowered to be able to fight all these, Kaurava warriors.
Yeah, but not like Arjuna. They may have been empowered. I mean, Krishna empowers everyone, of course, even to go to hell. He has to empower someone. But, yeah, it's a good point, actually, because, really, if you want to connect to Krishna, then you have to do something, or you have to try and do something that is impossible to do. And then, when you do it with great sincerity for Krishna, then Krishna has to give you the power to do that. There's no way, if you study the logistics of the data of a Kurukshetra war, there's no way that the Pandavas, the Arjuna and Krishna, with a little army, we're going to win. It's impossible. It just doesn't add up. But Krishna empowers that. It's like Krishna empowered through Garuda. But the little bird that's coming, and he's got, no, was it a bird? No, was it bird nest? Yeah, bird. Lost his egg to the ocean. And then here's the little bird with his little beak. He's telling the ocean, give back my bird, my eggs. And the ocean goes, ha ha. The ocean is kind of big. And the little bird says, okay, then I'll empty you until I find my eggs. And then he gets his little beak and he just, one drop at a time, starts emptying. So that's basically what we do when we try to serve Krishna. There's no way you can actually serve. Krishna is so great that we can't even fathom. But when we undertake such an activity for Krishna, then Krishna sees the sincerity and comes in. And then how do you get to know Krishna is by the connection When Krishna, and you can see that actually Krishna is helping you to perform that impossible activity. So therefore, everyone on this planet should be at least trying to do something impossible so that we get connected to Krishna, because we are lacking so much abilities, capacity, that basically we can't even, we got problem getting up in the morning. We got problems, just staying alive. What to speak of doing some, like beating a whole Akshohinis of warriors on the Kurukshetra. That's just impossible. I mean, we have so much in anxiety every day. I mean, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. As soon as we wake up in the morning, we start thinking about, oh, what about this, what about that? We're very weak mentally and physically. So there's nothing in us that's going to impress Krishna, really. But what is going to impress Krishna is that if we decide in our lives to do something for Krishna, that although we are incapable of doing, Krishna will help us doing. And this is how we connect with Krishna. It's very practical. It's a science of self-realization. And the basic things that we can do is chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regular principles. And if we do that for our whole life, then that will impress Krishna. But unfortunately, if you just chant 16 rounds, after a while it kind of gets a bit, some people, they chant for a while and they give it up because they say, oh, that doesn't do anything for me. I chant or I don't chant, doesn't make a difference. So you see, sometimes people, they come here, they take up the process and then they go. But the reason why they give it up is because they haven't undertaken anything that would validate the usage of chanting Hare Krishna. Like a particular activity or a particular goal that will say, yeah, now I'm going to do this. And because I'm like the bird in the, challenging the ocean, then Krishna will come in and help to do this. And when Krishna does that, then we realize who Krishna is. That actually Krishna is present everywhere at all times. But unless we take that up, very, very seldom someone will chant their whole lives 16 rounds or more without undertaking any particular challenge that will call Krishna, that will invoke Krishna into his presence. So when you say that the battle of Kurukshetra, everyone was empowered, then yeah, because they were empowered to do, on the other side as well, probably, because Krishna was present, but they would have had to have a relationship with Krishna to some extent. But the most empowered one definitely was Arjuna, because he was totally dependent on Krishna and he didn't care what size army, what he had or whatever. He was totally dependent on Krishna. And that connection with Krishna is actually what made him empowered. Of course, when Krishna removes himself, then it all goes. That's it. Krishna, as we know, Arjuna, when Krishna left, Arjuna could not even defend his queens. He got defeated by a bunch of cowards just walking along the road. So in devotional service, unless we take up some kind of challenge that is worth the tools that Krishna gives us, which is the Maha Mantra, and knowing where Maya is and where the reality is, unless we take up those tools and utilize them in a way that is bigger than just our own self-maintenance or trying to get our own happiness, then we will see that Krishna actually comes into the blend. And when Krishna comes into the blend, we sense Krishna's presence and we actually know how Krishna acts when we are unable to do something. And that's the connection with Krishna, that's called yoga. That's the real yoga. So unless we do that, unless we take up some kind of challenge, then life will be boring. And life is boring. You know why? Because it's meant to be boring. So when something is meant to be the way it is, it will be like that. Like fire is meant to be hot and sugar is meant to be sweet. Well, I can tell you now, the life is meant to be boring. Material life, that is. So unless we get a spiritual challenge, even if it's just controlling our senses, then life will become, everything becomes hackneyed. Once you've had 2 or 3 wives and 5 cars and 3 houses and the trip to the heavenly planets and back. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma Bhuvanalo Kapura Arjuna, he says, you do all that, but at the end, same result. So what's the point? Are we that daft that we can't get it? So therefore the challenge has to be a spiritual challenge, because material challenge, everybody's done it before. Everyone's done it much better than what we can do, because they're more qualified. Big emperors, big kings have done, they've had big dynasties, huge kingdoms, and it all went to dust again. So there's no challenge there to repeat what they've done. But the spiritual challenge is there, how to do something where we can connect with Krishna. So that's difficult, even if we do it in Even if you do it out of duty in a regulated way. Like for example, in Mayapur, the Jalanivas gives a service to someone for the deity worship, and that's your service for your whole life. Try that, just for this life. See how you go. But sometimes we change things because I don't like this, I don't like that. So in this way, we don't really create a challenge. And if we don't have a challenge in our lives, then yeah, it's back to drugs. Whatever drug may be for anyone. So yeah, they were empowered to some extent. But the idea is to get empowered like Arjuna. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.